What's up YouTube? My name is Caden and you're watching Gas It Garage. Today I'm going to be showing you my 1986 Honda TRX 200SX four-wheeler. Now I actually ended up getting rid of this thing before I even started this channel, but while I had it I took quite a few videos of me riding it around and ripping it through the grass and down the street and stuff. So I just decided to kind of throw this video together just because I hadn't really had enough time to film for other videos this week. So I just threw this one together for you guys, so enjoy the video. Alright guys, so this is my 1986 Honda ATV, and the way I got this thing was I went to a local scrapyard that I hadn't really been to before, just looking for any parts that I could possibly use for my other projects. And I came across this old four-wheeler that was sitting at the back of the property, all overgrown with weeds and vines and stuff. So I started looking at it and I was like, this really isn't a bad four-wheeler. It doesn't look in too bad a shape. So I went up to the front office and they said they would take $100. So I was like, done. So they picked it up and put it in the back of my dad's truck, and we drove this thing home, and I immediately got to work on it. And as you can see, I took off all of the fenders and plastics on it so I could get to all the wiring and the engine and everything. And then all I had to do to get the engine to run was hook up a battery and clean the carburetor, and then this thing fired right up and ran pretty well, actually, considering how old it was. And then I also replaced the rear tires, and I also had to unstick the front hubs because they were seized. And then there was a side cover gasket on the left side of the engine that was bad, so I had to replace that, which ended up being kind of a nightmare because I did it wrong the first time, so I had to go back and do it again later, but I eventually got it fixed. And this thing didn't ever have brakes because they were so rusty and corroded that I wasn't able to open them up to fix them. So I just didn't bother with it and just ended up using the transmission to downshift to slow down. And then I also used some zip ties to stitch together a huge crack in the fender, as you can see in this picture. So enough talk for now. Enjoy the rest of the video. I also took this thing the first time we went to Mini Mayhem with Cars and Cameras back in fall of 2023. So before we went out to Mini Mayhem that first time, I had put the rear fenders back on and reinstalled all the plastics as well as the front cargo rack. Now, this thing did not have front fenders when I got it, so that was a little bit annoying getting all that mud flung in my face. And also, the rear shock on this thing was so old that all of the damping in it was completely gone, so it was a very, very bouncy ride. But overall, this thing did pretty well, and it was actually pretty fun to drive. Although, when I went over a big bump, the chain popped off and actually punched a hole in the side of the engine case because it got bound up around the drive sprocket, and oil leaked out everywhere, but I was able to fix it with some JB Weld. So this was 6 months later when I decided to drive this thing in a new neighborhood that was going to be built, and that hill in the back proved to be a pretty good hill climb test.
Oh yeah, hill's actually pretty steep. A Honda can do it though.
Alright guys, so I just decided to throw this in here at the end of the video. So this is the first go-kart that I ever bought. I got it back in, I think, 2019, if I remember correctly. And it is a simple yard cart made by Streaker. And when I got it, I bought it for 75 bucks on Craigslist. And it originally had a Honda clone style engine on it made by Greyhound, which I still can't find anything about online. It must be a really old brand that's probably dead now, or got replaced by a Predator, which is the engine that I ended up throwing on it. It's got a Predator 212 with a Stage 1 kit from Go Power Sports on it, and this thing was actually pretty darn quick. It went almost 45 miles an hour, if I remember correctly, although it was kind of sketchy to ride because the rear wheels were literally just held on by cotter pins. There were no bolts, no nuts on the axle, nothing. And there was a ton of play in them. So this thing wobbled and bounced all over the place and was kind of sketchy. Although it was a pretty fun kart, and I actually learned quite a bit from it. And it's the machine that really got me into small engine motorsports. So here's some footage of me driving it. Hitting the horn.